I know we love to complain about modern supercars, but I have to admit there was something quite nice about being able to creep away from home this morning in electric mode, what Ferrari call e-drive in this car. This is just so peaceful and quiet and relaxing. And look, now I've got my coffee. By the time I've had a few sips, I'm going to be ready for the engine to kick in, which is good timing because it's about to do so. When I left home this morning, I had a full charge and it was giving me an electric driving range of about 15 miles. That has depleted almost instantly. I think I've done like 3 or 4 miles. It's basically reading as empty. But I do remember Ferrari saying at the launch event that the fact you can do some pure electric driving in this car is just an added bonus of this hybrid powertrain. The battery is really there to aid performance, not to create a kind of part EV Ferrari. And that's fine, I'm not going to give them a hard time. As I say, it was nice to be able to creep away from home, but now that I am away from home, as I say, I want the engine to wake up, and actually I can force it to do so. So let's change modes, and there we go. That surprisingly good sounding little V6 fires into life. Last time I drove one of these cars was at the international launch event. It was quite an intense morning. I think we had like 3.5, maximum 4 hours with the car, and we had to do like a 3.5 hour driving route during that time. Once you add filming to that, it was just a bit stressful. I remember thinking I love this car, but I really would like to spend more time with one. That's why I'm so excited for the next 48 hours or so, because by the time I've got to the UK's best coffee shop and then come back, I'm going to have done like 650 miles in this thing. Anyway, for now, I'm going to sip on that coffee, let the engine warm up, head out of town, onto the motorway and southwest into the countryside. Well, despite the fact I just got a coffee, my main mission today, as I just alluded to, is to visit not just the UK's best coffee roaster, but actually Europe's best specialty coffee roaster. Origin Coffee has won this award for the last 2 years in a row, so it seemed only fitting that I take one of the best supercars on the market today to a coffee shop serving the best coffee on the market today. Origin have a few cafes dotted around the UK, but their headquarters and roastery is in Port Leven on the south coast of Cornwall, some 300 miles away from my home. Not only did I want to go there so I could try some of their freshest roasted beans, but it was also the perfect excuse for a road trip in the GTS. Now, despite the fact it's the middle of November, miraculously, it's not raining in the UK today, at least not for now. I actually had a beautiful morning of bright blue skies. It's clouded over a bit now, and as you can probably hear, the wind has picked up, so it's freezing cold. So I'm putting the jacket on because I want to get the roof down in the GTS. Right, first things first, let's power up. I guess engine needs to be on as well, or powertrain needs to be on at least. And then down here, just pull this lever, and the roof comes down. It's actually not the quickest system in the world. I think I remember the Artura Spider being a little bit faster. But there you go, just moves all the way back, slots into place back there. And then I want to show you the world's most complicated way of turning on your heated seat. Let me reintroduce you to what I'm going to class as the disaster Ferrari's haptic touch steering wheel. I despise this. I've had 24 hours to try and refamiliarize myself with it, and I just can't get to grips with it. I find it so overly complicated. But if you want to activate your heated seat, hopefully I'm going to get this right, I have to tap once there to wake up the steering wheel, then hold the seat there. As you can see, that brings up a screen on the kind of main dash. That's your only screen as the driver. And then I need to move over. No, not that way. This is back to front, I think. Seat adjustments. There we go. Thermal comfort. Tap there again. Heating. There we go. Let's put it up to 3. Is that what I have to do? And then back there and back there. That's actually the most successful I've been at navigating that whole setup. Maybe we'll come back to the haptic steering wheel a bit later, or maybe I don't even want to talk about it. It annoys me so much. Now, this is Dartmoor National Park in Devon, home to the infamous Dartmoor Prison. It's just a 20 or 30 minute detour from the A30, which is the main artery heading down to Cornwall. So it's a super easy place to visit on your trip down or on your way back to other parts of the UK. It's roughly the same size as London, but it's basically empty. There are only a few roads, and they're long and open. They're just not particularly fast. There's a lot of wildlife, plenty of slow-moving tourist traffic to watch out for. But it's a great place to visit in a car, and the perfect place for me to refamiliarise myself with the 296 GTS. I'm just going to give you a quick reminder on all things 296 GTS in case you've forgotten some of the facts and stats. So the car has a twin-turbo 2.9 litre V6 hybrid powertrain, putting out around 830 horsepower in total. Yes, it sounds like way too much power for the public road, but somehow you can play between like 4,000 and 6,000 RPM and get so much enjoyment from this car. God knows what it's like to constantly bash through gears at the 8,500 RPM red line. I can only dream. It's relatively light, weighing around 1650 kilos. It's about 70 kilos more than the coupe, the GTB. It has a crazy amount of grip. There are seemingly 1,000 systems making you look and feel like a much better driver than you are. But that's the beauty of modern Ferraris. They let the car behave in a way that makes you think you're Charles Leclerc, while actually you are so far from the limit of the car it's basically half asleep. But all of this means that even on a bumpy, narrow UK road, as I was discovering, you can still have a lot of fun. It is freezing cold though. I have to find something to complain about. It's really cold, so I'm not entirely sure how long this roof will stay down. I do kind of want to keep it down though, because I actually don't fit in this car that well when the roof is up. I don't remember that from the launch, but yeah, most of this morning I kind of felt a little bit hunched. I feel like my visibility a little bit blocked by the windscreen surround, things like that. But yeah, now the roof is down, it's all just, it's perfect, it's perfection. This car is just a joy, even just to poodle around like this. Okay, look, this car does not sound as good as a 458, even a 488, but for a 2025 supercar, this sounds good. I've always been a fan of how this little V6 sounds. I think maybe from outside the car it's not that impressive, but somehow they've made it sound good from behind the wheel. And it's engaging to drive at these slower speeds. Okay, I've got everything turned up to 10, but you pull the big old carbon fibre paddles, there's a sort of feeling to the movement, and you actually feel the gear shift. And then, as and when you need it, there is just too much performance under your right foot. It's a very nice thing to drive. Yeah, well worth the diversion. As I mentioned, if you're coming down to Devon or Cornwall, come up here in your motorhome, in your hot hatch, in your family estate, whatever it could be, because it's just a cool, kind of eerie and slightly creepy place. But yeah, well worth the visit. Onwards, people, onwards. Well, what a day. I think you could probably tell earlier, I quite like the 296 GTS. Maybe a little bit too much. I actually can't wait to get back driving it tomorrow. But before I get distracted by coffee missions and gushing about the cars some more, I thought I'd raise a couple of red flags around the GTS, because there are some red flags that I feel like it's only fair to kind of wave. And the first one is around reliability. I know of cars, I've read about cars, I've heard of cars that have had reliability issues, like a variety of different issues, some catastrophic, some minor. I'm sure Ferrari are working on it, but yeah, just something to be aware of. Actually, when I picked up this car from Ferrari themselves, they did say if I was ever going to leave the car for a sort of longer period of time, which I'm not, make sure that there's 2 or 3 miles of electric driving range left. Don't leave it kind of flat, if that makes sense. Apparently the car doesn't like it. It's super easy to recharge the battery on the move. You just set the E-Manatino to qualifying or performance, and it actually regenerates the battery
really quickly. It's one of the most effective hybrid systems I've used on a sort of performance car. So it's just something that you don't want to forget, because clearly they've identified it as a potential problem. Second thing to talk about is price. I mean, it's fairly obvious. Here in the UK, 296 GTS starts from just under £280,000. It does sound like a lot, but in today's market, it is what it is. That's just how much cars are. Funnily, the car that I'm driving, just under £393,000, nearly £400,000. Yeah, suddenly a little bit more nervous driving that around the tight and narrow Cornish lanes. If you're wondering where the 110 or 15 grand's worth of options come from, I mean, the paint, 24 grand, the electric ventilated seats, 5.5 grand, the wheels, 5.5 grand, personalisation pack, don't even know what that is, but it's over 4 grand. Carbon fibre elements, they're all like 5, 6 or 7 grand each. I mean, it keeps on going. So it's what Ferrari do. I'm not going to knock them for it. And it wouldn't be an issue if you weren't ever planning to sell the car. But if you do want to sell the car, could be in for a bit of a rude awakening. Because Ferraris depreciate hard and fast these days, especially 296s. The GTBs have already fallen under 200 grand. The GTSs, well, there's a car listed for sale at 270 grand with only 500 miles that claims the list price was well over 360 grand. So essentially it's lost 100 grand in 500 miles. That's a bit scary. So look, rich people do dumb stuff. And Ferraris have always lost some money, so maybe people are prepared for this kind of depreciation, but it's scary when you're just looking at it on paper. It's not something that you're, I guess, considering experiencing. Why would you sign up to that? Anyway, I'm not going to get caught up with it because I love the car. And, if you've got the money to spend, maybe these things are... Anyway, I'm going to put my feet up, get some rest, and yes, set off bright and early tomorrow to spend some more time behind the wheel of the GTS and to get, supposedly, the UK's best coffee.
Try to quit you, I go through withdrawals. Tell me that when I die, I'll be the ghost of you.
Well, it was well worth the early start this morning. What an incredible sunrise. Welcome to Lizard Point. This is the UK's most southerly point. I feel like Land's End often steals a bit of glory from this place, but as far as I understand it, Land's End is the UK's most southwesterly point. But people often do Land's End to John O'Groats trips thinking that's south to north of the UK, but no, this is as far south as you can get on the UK mainland. It's much smaller in terms of a destination. Tiny little car park, very narrow road to get down here. Small gift shop, actually a cafe. Britain's most southerly cafe is here. But yeah, it's a really cool place to visit, and if you get lucky with the weather like I have in the middle of November, it's empty. I've been here by myself all morning just admiring this car. But the coffee shop is now open, so we've got to head 20 minutes up the road, go visit Origin Coffee.
After a short but hair-raising drive down the very narrow Cornish lanes, I mean these really are single-track roads, I found myself at Origin Coffee. Now, these guys are very different from your Starbucks, Costa, Nespresso machine, etc. They are specialty coffee roasters. What is specialty roasted coffee? Well, it's when every step of the coffee making process is done to the highest level, to only picking it when it's fully ripe and free of defects. It's then roasted in small batches to preserve its unique qualities and usually roasted very lightly. Your Starbucks coffee, for example, is probably roasted 4 or 5 times before it ends up in your cup, creating that bitter and false flavour from the bean. Specialty roasted coffee is often very smooth. Origin was founded back in 2004 and they pride themselves on supporting all the people involved in the process. The farmers, the pickers, the sorters, even the baristas. They are at the top of their game and they are detail obsessed, constantly striving to improve. Not dissimilar to Ferrari then. There's a small cafe at the roastery which was surprisingly packed with locals, had loads of delicious snacks and a great friendly atmosphere.
This is my kind of morning. Sunshine, epic views, a convertible Ferrari and proper coffee. Full disclosure, this is my second cup. I didn't need it, but I wanted to do it because they're offering 2 blends today, a new Christmas blend and then one of their original blends, and before I passed judgment, I thought I should try both. I mean, it's superb. I can understand why they keep winning awards. I actually just found out they won another award last night, some award in Europe for best independent roastery in Europe, and it's outrageous. But yeah, that is what coffee should taste like, and that is what coffee should do to you. I'm a little bit jittery. Sorry if I go a bit, crazy in this take, but yeah, 2 cups of this stuff will start to make you a little bit mad, but that's what it's all about. And the best thing is that oat milk doesn't overwhelm the flavour. Like it's coffee. I'm rambling on a caffeine high. Good thing is, my day doesn't end here. While this has been the destination for, my road trip, I get to go and do it all in reverse. I've got to drive home some 300 miles back to London, which I simply cannot wait for. I'm questioning whether I should drink this cup because I'm honestly so buzzed. This might tip me over the edge. And then getting into an 800 odd horsepower Ferrari, I think I'm going to, yeah, that's a speeding ticket, isn't it? So I keep reaching for it, but I'm just going to wait. I'm going to chill. I'm in no big rush. The early start means I've got time on my side. Maybe I'm going to have like a croissant, calm myself. It's so good, this. It's so good. I just checked and I've already done 430 miles in this car, which means by the time I get home, I'm actually going to be creeping up on 700 miles, which means if I wanted to sell this car, I would have just lost well over 100 grand in 24 hours. But apart from the fact I've remembered how amazing this thing is, I have noticed a couple of other things during the last 400 odd miles. Firstly, I feel like there's less difference between sport and race mode in this car than in previous mid-engine Ferraris. Maybe it's because I'm on the public road. Maybe if I was on track, I would pick up the differences more. But yeah, it's just a more subtle change in those driver modes. Secondly, the hybrid system integration in this car is fantastic. It is totally seamless. I mean, of course, every now and again you hear the engine start up, you feel it rumble, but most of the time it's doing it without you even really realizing. Then if you look down and notice that you haven't got much electric driving range left and you're approaching a town or city or somewhere where you want to be able to just switch the engine off, you can replenish it so quickly. Just knock the car into performance or qualifying mode and it recharges that battery seemingly instantly, so that's fantastic. A little negative, when you've got Apple CarPlay running, you lose the rev counter. Actually, even the speedo becomes this tiny little number on the left-hand side because Apple CarPlay takes up the entirety of this digital dash. It's probably an Apple thing, it's probably not a Ferrari issue, but it's the issue with having just one big old screen for the driver, so that does annoy me. You can have a head-ups display, probably for an additional price. I don't really like head-up displays, so I've turned that off. Anyway, small bugbear. And then finally, whilst Ferrari were geniuses and have put a button on this steering wheel which allowed you to basically turn off all the ADAS systems instantly, I love that Ferrari, there are still too many bongs and bings and alarms on this car. Every time I close the door, it like automatically locks, which means I've set off the alarm about 15 times by reaching inside, opening the bonnet when the car is locked and I don't realise. I get it, it's a £400,000 Ferrari, but I wish you could just tone it down slightly. Aside from that, I adore this thing. It's been absolutely brilliant, and what a fantastic 48 hours it has been. I better
set up Apple CarPlay to get me home now. So look, here we go. It's so bloody distracting, this thing. Wait, tap to wake up. Is that woken up? No, tap again to wake up. There we go. Apple CarPlay, yeah. Swipe up, swipe right. I mean, I am not looking at the road right now. Home, yep. Yeah, there it is. How do I get to start? Start. Okay, 220 miles. Oh, someone's calling me. Maybe it's Ferrari. Furious that I'm slagging off their systems. I better take that, and then I hit the road. So how do I sum up my time with the 296 GTS? Is it as good as I remember? Absolutely. Can you extract it in the performance of the public road? Somehow, yes. But as great as this thing is, I have discovered a few things that I don't love about it, and a few things that may make me question sort of buying one. And actually, there is one major thing that would make me question buying one, and that's the McLaren 750S. I spent a few days with one back in the summer, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but from memory, I think the McLaren has a little bit more soul than the 296, a bit more personality. Perhaps it's the V8 over the V6 or the lack of hybrid system on the 750S. But I guess it feels like you're on board the 296. The car's essentially allowing you to make a few inputs. But with the McLaren, I just felt more in charge, more part of the driving experience. It's my new, and I'm not saying I would buy a 750S instead of a 296, but it would make the choice harder. And then when you look at the used market, which doesn't always give you the full picture, it does suggest there are less 750Ss around and that they aren't appreciating quite as fast as 296s, but only by a whisker. Anyway, I had the best few days, drank the best coffee and enjoyed exploring with this car so much. If anyone asks, it is still one of the best supercars on the market, and I would happily spend a lot more time in one. I just don't know if I personally would definitely buy one.